Question?
Gentlemen, punt return to the squad room, please. Punt return to the squad room.
Are you involved with punt returns, Joe?
Just kick off. Just kick off.
Lito said something about this is the closest some of you guys ever been to a study, or probably the closest you've ever been to studying. Let's go.
So how you feeling? It's been a few months since we've seen you and you were still rehabbing the hip.
Great.
How's the hip?
I was a little concerned about whether I needed a little help at practice, but I went over a couple hours the other day, no problem whatsoever. Tommy had a golf cart out there in case I got tired. I feel great. Really do. I'm not sure about from the neck up, but from the neck down, I'm okay.
You still feel good enough to plan to be on the field for next year?
Yeah, right now, I think I'm 100%. Feel good, I really do.
Was it just a regular rehab? Did you get to do anything special to get back to feeling 100%? Were you walking a lot, back to your walking?
Well, they gave me some exercises and things. My problem at the bowl game was the fact that I didn't know whether I could handle standing up to, 3 hours. And I hadn't been able to do it in practice. But after, January? We get 3 months of it. I've been doing exercises and things like that. I'm fine, really. I think that's a dead issue, really.
Joe, Darryl Clark and Sean Lee said they thought the bowl game loss to USC really stayed with you a long time afterward. It kind of influenced your winter workouts. Could you just talk about?
Well, I didn't think we didn't play well. We didn't coach well. And I just didn't think I walked away from it not feeling very good about anything. And I think we can do better.
Would you say this is one of the hardest winter workouts you've ever had for your players?
You'd have to ask them.
Workout. I mean, the players said Sean Lee said it was the hardest one that he's ever had to endure.
Well, we got a lot of young players. We've got some young kids that have really never had to muster, and some of them have been overweight and things like that. So I thought we got to just zero in on getting those people to understand what it's going to take for us to be a good football team. And I thought we've had a good winter program. I really do.
Joe, with all the veterans that you lose at wideout, offensive line, secondary, how important is the spring to get guys kind of in the mix?
Well, that's exactly right. You lose, 15, 16 started, or we lose 3 wideouts that carried us for a couple of years, and 3-4 years, and the secondary, we lost 3 really fine offensive linemen. We had those 3 kids leave, Maven and Evans, and then the other kid who graduated, who was a really an unheralded kid who played as well as either Evans or Maven, and he was solid. So we have and that's one of the reasons we needed a good top winter program, so we could go into spring practice and have a big time spring practice. Now, we've only had 1 day, and that's without pads, and we're going to go today without pads because that's an NCAA regulation. The first 2 days you got to go without pads, and 3 to 15 you got to work without pads.
Joe, you plan on giving different guys different looks at different positions in the secondary? You got a lot of guys coming back, but not too many to play.
Well, we tried to determine, watching them in the winter program and things like that, we're doing some agility drills and, things you're allowed to do without, you can't do anything with a football, but there are a lot of things you can do to evaluate kids, how they change direction, jumping and things of that sort. And we tried to plug each kid in. We spent an awful lot of time talking personnel in our staff meetings, because I think, as I've said to you guys many times, I think the toughest job in college particularly is getting the right guys in the right place doing the right things, the things they can do. So we spent a lot of time doing that, but I don't think we're going to make many changes now. I think we've got them all pretty well where we want.
Joe, how happy are you constraints and things like that? Do you feel more pressure trying to, with teaching with a young team and things along those lines, coming off a real veteran look a year ago?
I don't know what I'd call it pressure. I think it's all part, I I like to coach. And I'm fortunate enough, as I've said, you guys have heard me say this so many times, but I've got a great staff, and they like to teach and coach, and, you know, and I don't have to worry about little details, because they're just doing a great job. And the last 2 years, I've not been much help to them on the practice field, and they've done a heck of a job. Hopefully I'll do a little more this year. I really don't, I'm looking forward to it.
Joe, out of those areas where we did lose starters, is there one specific area where you need to prioritize to find those guys to step up?
Well, I think we have some young kids that can do it, some kids, but, you know, until you really put them through the, as I said, we had a fine winter program. That's a start. First day of practice without pads was enthusiastic, and I thought it was good. Today's the second day of practice. We're gonna go without pads, which we have to, as I just said. But, you know, I think we got some good young kids. Hopefully we have, and of course, I think we had a good freshman group coming in. Some kids won't be out there. The 3 or 4 of them will be out there, but it started in January. So I think we got a lot of work ahead of us, but I don't think it's a situation where we can't be a good football team.
Joe, were you worried at all about losing Larry to Illinois? How big of a
Well, yeah, sure.
situation was that for you?
Couldn't promise him what, you know, defensive coordinator or anything like that, which he had out there, but I tried to tell him, you know, I felt that, you know, it was important. We wanted him to stay, and I'd like him to stay, and I felt that if the time came that he wanted to be a head coach, maybe he didn't have to be a coordinator. Because I think Larry would like to be a head coach, and I think he's capable of being a really fine head coach. Jimmy Corwell was here, was not a coordinator, went from here as head coach to Wake Forest, and I tried to tell him that, and I was delighted he decided to stay. Larry's done a good job for us.
It sounds like Lee can be held out of contact drills. How hard is it going to be being able to hold him back, especially a kid hasn't hit in a year?
Well, I don't know, we're gonna let Lee go, think about that, yeah, Lee doesn't have to prove anything to us, you know, we know Lee's a football player. We got some young kids that we've got to find out some things about, and if you got, you know, like, we'll be out there after we get through kicking the ball, we'll be out there about 2 hours, including stretch. And in that period, you only get so many reps, so many things you want to do, and rather than get some kid that you know what he can do, we're trying to find out about some other kids. But you still need some good kids to challenge some of the younger guys, so they get an idea of just what it's going to take. And so Sean's been great. He's been one of the best kids I've ever coached. You know, I don't know what I mean on the field, but he's out there all the time. He's coaching kids. He does all the, you know, he does everything. So far, I'm going to try to keep him out of contact as much as I can.
Joe, how do you go about developing depth at quarterback behind Darryl?
You know, I would have had him in this house. You guys got that? Well, we got 3 kids really that we're working with. We're working with the kid who came in here, McLean, who was a walk-on from Scranton, who I like. He's still a walk-on, and then we've got the kid who came in here as a true freshman, Newsom. So I think we've got 3, and then there's a couple other kids out there that we won't be able to give as many shots to as we'd like to. So you work with the 3, and Jay will do a good job with them. And Clark will be a good job. Clark will be a leader. Clark has really assumed a strong leadership role. And I think that part will take care of itself. Clark will help, you know, and then he'll mimic Clark. That's one good thing about having a guy that's had some success and can do some things well. You know, he can mimic him.